Hello, everybody. It's your girl, Dr. Rose, coming with you live again from the She Joy Spiritual Hub Energy Joy on you. You guys, I do hope that all of my jollies know that there is a new promotional deal, which is you get $5 for every She Joy Jolly membership card you get. Okay, so the card is $55, but it does pay for itself. Okay, but whenever you sign up, and for each jolly card you get $5 via Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal. But anyway, let's talk about things that we need to think about, right? So you guys, just a few things, to kind of get us into there, like, with as far as the chats go, right? So, and you guys feel free to comment on, what you guys think is, interesting things interesting topics. But so here recently, we've heard of the giants being found in New Mexico or Mexico. Hey, Michelle. And, so we've already known that giants existed. We've already been seeing the artifacts coming up and different things like that. And then we knew, like, in 2002, that there was a giant who fought with the military. And it took out quite a few people. Hey, Ron. And it had the giant from 2002 had red hair, 2 sets of teeth, and 3 eyes. That's profound. And I think they said it was like 14 foot, 10 to 14 foot or something like that. And then just recently, this year, they found one. And then the person who actually filmed the video of it ended up mysteriously, they were unalived. Okay. So yeah, just a few things to talk about. Also, She Joy is also doing a thing where if you guys know your blood type, I can let you know certain things about you, like characteristics, foods that are best for your blood type, foods that are best for you to leave alone, just certain things like that. Also, a better way to balance your chakras. And besides that, I do also do chakra readings. So for those of you who are wanting to do healing, or maybe like if you know that there's a certain region where you're having like upsetness or issues at, we can locate and kind of see what we can do with herbs and remedies and color therapy and stuff like that to kind of use to fix those areas. Also, I don't know if you guys on y'all's IDs have that y'all are organ donors, but if you do, here's something to think about. Let's say Joe is an organ donor, okay? And let's say that one day something happened to Joe, and Joe ended up going to the hospital, right? And he thought he was going to die, but he's an organ donor, right? And let's say Jane was also at the hospital and needed an organ. Well, Joe is an organ donor. And in that situation, they've already signed to be allowing their bodies to be used for science or life-saving purposes to help another person. Okay? So they're not necessarily going to resuscitate Joe. Whereas Jane, she said that she wants to be saved, so they're going to do everything in their power to save Jane. You get what I'm saying? So, like, if you don't want a similar situation, or you just don't want that to be a possibility for yourself, I would take organ donor off of your IDs. Okay? That's just something to think about. Also, you guys, I am going to be starting to do the XXX adult readings I'll be making a post on like what the thing is on that. Please be patient with me on that, you guys. If y'all are, you know, thinking about getting y'all's reading anyway, and then you're like, oh well, you want that instead, I'll show you just a snippet real quick of the cards that we'll use for that, which are going to be these. And you'll be able to see like why they are called what they're called. Why the readings are triple X rated readings. And that's because they're pretty graphic. You know, like you don't really see much, but like of certain cards, like I'll show you some of them that are really profound as well. Okay. Yeah, like there's in the adult readings, there's definitely a lot of cards that are very interesting, to say the very least. Right? So if that sounds like something that you guys would be interested in, then reach out for your adult readings. I think that that's going to be definitely something fun. Also, you guys, a few things to think about. How Earth has chakras, right? So Earth has chakras. Hawaii, Mount Shasta, Germany, and a couple other places have chakras that are associated with, you know, Earth's chakras. We ourselves have chakras, and that's how we're interconnected. Okay, and as we raise our personal collective vibrations, then we get the communal vibrations, then we get the overall collective vibrations, then we can actually raise the Earth vibration. Okay, so there's a lot going on there. Also, yes, we do got flying cars right now, which is profound. We got underwater cars. Again, I've been telling you guys this for some time, how there's like underwater buildings, and there's just certain things that are going on. So there's those underwater buildings. There's a lot of technology being built as far as like houses that are floatable on water, right? Because they were talking about how like different things have been happening. So they're making houses and boats and cars and shit that can go on top of the water, which is profound. I think that it's really great that they're doing that. Also, they're talking about putting chips in people for carbon prints, right? So you can see how much green gas that you're emitting, or how much you basically, to know your carbon footprint, kind of how like Tesla and all that does. A few other things to think about are some changes that are currently happening. You know, with the cryptocurrency, they were trying to make a currency change. And, you know, I was never really avid crypto person. And that's because we found a system that has worked for us for years, which is the monetary system that we have, right? The US dollar. And it's obviously been the one that's been easiest and best for all. As of currently, that's really the best that there is, because of how many people know. Hey Susan, because of how many people know how to hack and like coding and certain stuff like that. The crypto thing happened to be hacked, and that's how a lot of money got lost, and the government actually wasn't able to pay back or account for about $1 billion. So in my mind, I was like, you know, if they know that there's hackers, maybe that was just a way to kind of pay off some of that debt that we owe. Not that I'm salty about it, you know what I mean? But I do think that would be a logical explanation for what's been happening. Also, you guys, I don't know if you're into biblical prophecies and whatnot, but there's been a lot of word recently about how the Euphrates River is drying up. Okay, this has been happening slowly but surely for some time now. And what we've actually noticed is, biblically, a lot of findings are coming out. And also, there's been a lot of like, you know, like how I say, like a lot of people are waking up and like a lot more news and a lot more knowledge is coming out. First off, that news is being leaked. Okay? Call it what it is. So you mean to tell me for years and years and years, people never knew anything and, you know, everybody was cool with it, and now all of a sudden, because people are waking up, people are looking and researching more things and finding out all these secret knowledges, or finding out all these different things, and actually I feel like the government is actually leaking that information because I don't know if y'all know about the Agartha Middle Earth thing that happened, or the message broadcast from the Galactic it's like the Galactic people, you know what I mean? There was a message that was broadcasted where they were saying that basically those beings would be coming up if we didn't those beings would be coming up if, you know, we didn't unite and make things better. Because you got to think about it. If the sacred beings went into the Middle Earth to have protection, and that's where the Atlanteans fled before their place sank, was Middle Earth, then we all can't go there, right? So we're eventually going to have to balance here and there, okay? So like that was that understanding. No, I don't feel like we're in our last of days, okay? That is objective, right? Because, yeah, you could say that we're in our last of days, because some are, okay? But I don't claim that, and I'm going to tell you why. A, it's been said for centuries, that same thing. And yeah, we're seeing more biblical prophecies, but we also must understand manifestations and how many people are manifesting that of which is spiritual, which has already happened, right? So the Bible was written however many years ago, and most of that stuff has already happened. Yeah, a lot of it is repetition, but if you think about it, you know, we're seeing proof of it, so I'm not discrediting it at all. We're seeing proof that those things were there. Like, for example, they found where the ark, Noah's Ark was. They found it. It was a mountain. You can look this stuff up. Like, we're finding all types of biblical stuff that tells us where we were in ancient worlds and so on and so forth. Centuries and millenniums and whatnots ago, right? But we also are seeing that you know, with the biblical prophecies, we're also understanding that happened in a certain area of the world, right? The Bible was created based off of a certain amount of people, okay? Adam and Eve weren't the first people on earth. They were the first documented people on earth in the Bible, okay? Get some clarification on that, because we got to think about it. There's a lot that was left out. There's a lot of books that were taken out, the apocryphies. You know, there was a lot of books that were taken out. Then there was, you know, the Catholics that kept certain stuff out. Then there was the Vatican that kept certain stuff out from the Bible. And then you got to think of who the person who wrote the Bible was, and what their religion really was, and where they really got that knowledge from. And it goes deep, but that's another video. So, you know, it's really profound, everything that's kind of coming out. And that's why I'm saying that information is being leaked. Okay? And they're also giving us movies and stuff to get our minds ready for some of the things that are coming up. And letting people kind of use their discernment and you know, because they want help. They want people to unify. So how do they unify? They give people knowledge, and the wise discerns the knowledge and builds a following and a growing and a knowing off of that knowledge, which helps us all come together collectively to raise our vibrations, and, you know, kind of help us and our globe to get on a better vibration. You know what I mean? So there really truly is a lot occurring. But do I think that it's the end of days? No, because we've also known for years that they do have what's it called? That they do have time machines. Okay, there have been many time machines that have been made over the years, and there was even a government project that happened, which was called Philadelphia, at some point, where a ship of people, military people, went into this time portal, and when they came back, they were infused to the boat that they went in. And you guys can Google this. This is documented. This is classified information, but it's been leaked far before me. And just those who know. And you can just go look this up afterwards. You know what I mean? Do your research if you want to. But I've done mine. So we do have that time technology, okay? And then we also got the CERN. Well, with the CERN, there's a lot of things that are happening with that. So we found the God particle through the CERN, right? God particle meaning that they're trying to basically let certain people to live, longer than most people, and try to figure out how the Big Bang Theory happened, and excuse me, guys. Trying to figure out how the Big Bang Theory happened, and what's the matter that creates the earth so that they can create what they want, so on and so forth. Well, in that, CERN is currently activated, and they're planning on making another one. So it's a lot. Hey, Shakoma. So it's a lot. That is why... Wait. The Bible is deep, and I don't know if everything was decoded correctly on some things. Facts. That's why it was in symbols, to find out the truth. You gotta decode the messages. Yeah. Because you gotta think of, all around the world, different things were happening at that time. Okay? Because there was the Anunnaki, the Draconians, the Pleiadians. Okay? These are ones that we know for sure. Were around. And of that, it's those things were happening. And then we had the Mayans, we had the Egyptians, we had the Greeks, the Romans. And we're seeing all of these artifacts coming up from these places. And even that dinosaurs weren't really a thing, but they said that chickens came from dinosaurs. Do your research. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of really profound stuff that, is being brought up. You know what I'm saying? And all the different religions come from the different places. And, I feel like whenever... We're going to take some Bible references and kind of break them down and spread them out real quick, right? Bible was created in the Middle Eastern. Okay, this is by India and all that. So it was only given a perspective. And this was how far ago, right? Well, when Christopher Columbus sailed, he was discovering new places, right? Because before that, we only had animals to get us around. And we didn't really have the technology to be able to know so much, right? So if you were on an island, you probably thought that was the whole world. Whereas really, it wasn't, right? Whereas now, we have the kind of technology that shows us everything, right? So we had the Bible that was made in the Middle East, okay? Then came the Quran, right? Because that came after the Bible. And before that, we had the Mayans, right, who depicted giant beings, which we know to be the Anunnaki. Okay, giant beings who came here and they basically created a shorter human race to be used as slaves. That then the slaves began to copulate and try to overthrow the giant Anunnaki. Then we got kicked out from that place and moved to a different place, and that's where some of this stuff is coming from. So are you saying knowledge comes with wisdom? I mean, yeah. You know what I mean? Absolutely. But I'm just saying, like, these are all things to look up, you know, things to focus on, because then there was also a thing called the Devil's Bible. That is actually in Italy, and that the Vatican holds. And that is like the biggest book that there is. And it has ways to open up portals and all kinds of crazy stuff. And only elite people are allowed to view that. And when they go in, they can only view certain sections, and they have to read a clause, and they have to sign something, and it's a whole process. But that's where the Catholics came in and took out pieces of that Bible, right? Then there became the Catholic religion, who glorified the Mary, right? Then there was also the book written by John. Is it John? I think it was John. Then there's the Bible written by John, who actually was a Satanist, which makes sense of why, you know, they took books from the Devil's Bible to use. Because what did God make the world? Even Jesus in the Bibles, because this is the oldest religious documents that we have outside of like scrolls and stuff like that from like the Mayans, Mesopotamians, and stuff like that. Basically it said that dang, I just lost my train of thought. You know what I was just saying? Okay, so there's the Bible. Oh, so like when you look into that, you know, it says basically that, you know, God gave Satan dominion over the world, right? And of the world that Satan got to run, remember when Jesus was here, Satan was tempting Jesus, right? Because Jesus even said that Satan was the god of this realm, right? But he also said that Satan loses every battle, and he told him, Satan, get behind me, because, you know, basically that Satan doesn't win because he's God's. Jesus is. Well, if you think about that, then that's why the Devil's Bible came out. And that would be kind of where all these religions' understandings came from. Because regardless, he has to let the people know about God, because he has to glorify God. No matter what Satan does, has to glorify God regardless. Okay? Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that is why demons can be exorcised. That is why the good always wins. That is why you can cast out negativities. That's why spirituality and religion is so profound and so sought out, is because of these things, having the knowledge, right? So, you know, if you know, you know. And even way back in the days, like in Egyptian times, they had like phone scrolls, they had technologies, they had free-based energy, which is basically at the top of the pyramids. I don't know if you know this, but do I got that? I don't know where that board went, so never mind. But basically at the top of the pyramids, there's, okay, in the sky, there's the solar system, right? And then there's the, where the astrology and the constellations. Okay, so the pyramids were located using the stars as guides. And at the top of every pyramid was a crystal that channels energy and directs the energy to where the energy should go. Okay? So that's why things are profound, is because this technology has always been there. Then a lot of people were like, well, how were, the pyramids and so on and so forth built? Something to think about. Sound. Did you know that back in the day, I can't recall who did it. I want to say it was, let me not lie, but you can research it. It is somebody. But, basically back in the day, there was somebody who used sound to move objects. They built this object that could move tons with sound, with resonance. Okay? And that got taken from them because of obvious reasons. They want to charge, they want to tax, and they want to keep things in line. They don't want people to go over the boundaries. Okay? Now, energy is free? Yes. Why did they make it not free? Because if everybody had access to unlimited power, could you imagine what the loons of this world would have done? Exactly. That's why there's a government system put in place for all the people who are saying like, oh, the government's against it. The government's not against us. Without people, there would be no one to govern. Okay? And literally, military, welfare, jobs, construction, all comes from the what? Government. Okay? Yeah. It all comes from the government. And so that's what's profound. It's like, no, the government's not against you. No, you're not going to break the government down, because literally the government runs everything. What up, Faith? And, to put it in perspective for you, there's a hierarchy of a system that's put in place, right? So there's, for example, so we've got cities, governors over cities. Then we've got states. We got state governments and stuff like that. Then we got presidents over the continents. And then we've got, then we've got the intelligence that's over the presidents of the continents, right? So each continent has its president. And then we have the president of those presidents, which is the elites, okay? Which is where like NATO and all of those are coming from, right? Right? And then we have also understood that outside of Antarctica is a whole nother civilization. Yeah, it's a whole nother civilization. There's actually a treaty that says that we cannot go over, we do govern ourselves, Ron, essentially, because we vote for those people, and those people are from our place, and there's not, even the government is governed, is the point I'm trying to make. But outside of that, there's that civilization, and there's a treaty that says that you can't go to that civilization because it would start a war, right? Because they don't know about us. They don't know much about what we got going on. We don't know much about that until we can figure out how to have a peaceful balance with both sides. That treaty is going to remain in place, because that's what's been in place this whole time, keeping things fine. Okay, it's also to say that we're in a firmament. What's a firmament? A firmament is like a globe. Okay, it's gonna resemble something like this. The Bible talks about it, right? With the pillars, right? Like, so the earth would be like this, right? And then this would be the pillars, right? If you read Bibles and stuff like that, then you would know what I'm talking about. But each civilization, even ancient civilizations, depicted us in this firmament. And so that opens up a lot of questions. Okay, so this could considerably be the reason why, right? They said that there was our atmosphere, then there was the ozone, like that solar system and all like that inside of the firmament. Okay, but then there's obviously something above that, right? Because they said that the firmament was underwater, right? So it's a underwater firmament. And if you've seen like Horton Hears a Who, it's kind of like that resonance right there, similarly. Okay, but regardless, so if we couldn't break through the firmament, then they wanted to find new ways to get out of the firmament. So what did they do? They created time portals. And what happened from those time portals? Things were affected, things were changed, so on and so forth. Mandela effect, these things. So then they made the CERN. Well, what did the CERN do? The CERN broke down the God particle. How things were made with life, right? Which is why they have incubators where robots are now carrying babies. We have a first robot citizen who wants a baby. We also have like technologies where they're making babies in like petri dish type things and then forming these babies. So there's a lot of technology that's happening because of that God particle being found. Side note, also within the particles that are being found, we've also found that they're using the CERN to extract dark matter. Well, what's dark matter? Light matter is what we're seeing. Of the 144 chakras and dimensions that we have, they're tapping into the dark matter to pull out the sides that we don't know, which is more in the spiritual realms, and bringing those entities and deities and energies over so that we can use them to co-create and collaborate the things that we as a government or as a civilization, as a species, are wanting to attain. Okay? Another side note. We are humans, correct? And we are on Earth, right? And we have humanity. But why are we fighting for human rights? What human decided that we, so there was other... It's crazy to think that humans were the only species. Every day we're finding new species. We are finding new species every day. So it's crazy to think that we would be the only walking, talking, breathing, technological species that there is. It's illogical to think that we would be the only one. You know what I'm saying? So, which is why the Anunnaki, Pleiadians, Mesopotamians, Mayans depicted these giants and sacred beings, aliens, so to speak, angelic beings, sacred beings, whatever you want to call it. Them are who kind of like oversees the overseer who oversees everything else. Okay? So yeah, you guys, this is just stuff to think about. That's why God gave us free choice. We were born to govern ourselves, and people smarter than a whole lot of elite. Elite is just a name to embrace the weak and win the game. I mean, one could say so. You know what I mean? One could say that, but I'm gonna put it like this, right? A lot of people, with the control that they already have issues stabilizing themselves, have issues running themselves, running their food, running their health. So what do? They run to a higher person, police, doctors, priests, so on and so forth, to help them, right? Because obviously they're not good at doing that on their own. So there were systems put in place. These systems did not get put in place just because of greed or power or somebody wanting to be elite. They were put into place because many people needed that help. So it was created as a source of help, right? How like the Bible says that Jesus would be over the government. One could say it's happening now. We've got healthcare, we've got this, we've got that, welfare, we've got military, we've got all these different things that help us to be what we are. And as America, even more so, more rights than most countries in this world. Not to say that we're the best, because far from it. We're like the 7th country as far as best goes. Although our military is pretty elite. Facts. and a lot of places would lose going against us, and there's that understanding as to why we do remain so highly sought after. Okay, but then that also explains why there's a debt ratio, and why each person was born with $1 million. I said $1 billion essentially, and that's why there's a debt, because each person is like a payment. So each person that's born in, they work to pay off a debt that the government has. But then there's also an understanding that when people die, that there's payouts for that too. But then also whenever they do, they're, especially with like these like COVID things and stuff like that that's taking people out, like there's an understanding of like there's a depopulation problem. Like we actually need to populate more, because if you think about it, how many people are gay and not making kids the natural way? You can argue what you want, it's just facts, right? 2 women, they're not going to have a baby naturally. They might go adopt or so on and so forth, or in vitro or whatever the hell you want to call it, but they're not having it natural. Okay, 2 men likewise. Okay, so that made a depopulation thing. Well, at the time, a lot of people are having babies and then they were giving up babies. That is why they stopped abortion. Not because they want to take out people's rights, but because we need to populate the earth. Okay? That's what the elites are talking about right now. I'm telling you. So, we're trying to populate. That is why we keep letting people over to our borders, because we need to fill quotas. We need more people over here to make our civilizations thrive more. I'm telling you. So, a lot of theories that people have are really incorrect, because whenever you actually do the knowledge and you actually do the study and you actually look into what's really going on and what's happening behind all these things, and why they're giving us boosters and stuff to make us more immune, is because they're letting in people from other places with other stuff that could be affecting us. They want us to be immune. They want us to be stronger. And also, if we do have to fight. So it's just real. So there's a lot that's happening under the scenes that a lot of people are like, oh, the government's not against us at all. They are us. Right? The government could think about it. If there was the whole Americas, right? And of the Americas, if somebody decided that they wanted to overthrow us, they couldn't, because we're united. And there's a lot of us. And we're powerful when we stand together. But think about it. If the government didn't have us to run, if there was less people, we couldn't combat. There wouldn't be a combat if there wasn't enough people to do it. You have to use logic at some point. You know what I'm saying? Like, at some point, we have to understand that we are better unified. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's really profound that all of this stuff is kind of coming out, and that more and more people are getting to resonate and understand, like, the truths of what's really going on. For real, okay? And I get passionate about certain things, because I feel like everybody has an opinion, and everybody thinks that certain things are right or wrong. And I'm not saying that I'm 100% right, but until you can show me that I'm wrong, and you've done enough research like I've done, then it's reasonable to believe that what I'm saying is the truth. And not only that, but when you hear something, you can resonate with it, and you know if it's true or not based off the vibration that it resonates on. Hello. So you know what I'm saying? There's that too. So when I study, not only do I read these things, study these things, I speak these things out loud, and I'm like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? Makes sense, So that's what's going on with population. Okay, so we're needing to, that's why they keep making ways to birth children. It's because we need more people. Okay, if you think about like China, right? China right now is huge, but it has so much free land. China's not even full. There's a lot of places that could use humanity. Now, yes, there's a Alexa, pause. There's a global warming thing. Now, we could go into that. We could really dive into global warming, right? And understand what it really is. Because on one point, yeah, pollution, yeah, creates climate, yeah. Okay, on another side, there's patents on our clouds. Google it. Research it. There's patents on our clouds. They do things in our clouds to affect the weather. There's whole things that create weather input and output. And they'll crank up these machines that'll create a fog. And then from the fog creates the rains and the storms. This is technology. This is things that are known about right now. You know what I mean? So there's that. But then we also got to think of how many people have been using the water on Earth. And how much water has been used. And how much water has been recycled. Well, of that, you got to think the water is going down to a degree, right? Because of the water's going down because people are using it. Well, how do they refill the water? Rain, condensation, recycling, okay? And that's how we're finding new stuff, because the water elevation is going down and new things are coming up that were once underwater. Those things are being revealed. So they're using the weather and the patents to make it do different weather so that we can have more water. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's how they know in advance when storms are going to happen and certain stuff. Yeah, there's casualties, but they let people know, like, hey, there's a storm coming that way. So you got time to leave. You know what I'm saying? You got time to wiggle. Because they know around about what's going on at all times. That's also why the news is like, if you look at any news station, it's saying pretty much the same thing across the board, outside of like little stories that are relevant to where you're at, okay? So yeah, there's a lot of things taking place behind the scenes, but really out in our faces and in broad daylight, These are just things to think about. I mean, I would love to have an open conversation with somebody, like, if y'all wanted to go live and hop in here and like do like a really solid debate about some of this. But some of this is just undeniable facts. You know what I mean? Do you think it's population control? No, because we are trying to grow our population. So that's where the if you know, came from, right? Because we're constantly trying to populate our continent. We're trying to populate it, not depopulate it. Think about it. If they were trying to depopulate, they could just drop bombs on people. Hello? If they were trying to depopulate, they could just kill people. They don't have to like try. They could just kill people. They've got the technology to do it. They could just do it. They don't need our consent. They could just do it. But they don't. Why? Because they need us to govern. Why don't they do that? Because there's strength in numbers. Why don't they do that? Because we work together. You know what I'm saying? So like, as much as population control is a thing, it's not. They want to control the violence. They want to control, how far we get with certain things. They don't want us to try to overthrow them because they're for our better good. Hello? They know a lot that we don't know. You know what I'm saying? Not including that which they're releasing to us. You know what I'm saying? And then giving us stuff to make us stronger. So no, I don't think that there's population control. I think that there is population control, but for our growth, not decreasing our population. They don't want our population to decrease. Did you know that back in the day, people only lived to like their 20s and 30s? We live longer now. We've lived longer. They've found ways to keep us healthier longer. And people constantly are saying, oh, they don't want this, and that. Like, the logistics of that is... It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Because if they really wanted to do something, they could. They could. I mean, I just want people to think about that. Like, do you really think that if they wanted to take out like a whole city or a whole state, that they would have problems doing that? With bombs, with all the technology that they have to gas people out, with all the sicknesses and chemicals that they have? No. They could just do that shit at any given moment. You know what I'm saying? They could. But does that help them? No. Because the less people you got to fight, the less people you got to work, the less people that you got to help the country to thrive. The more people, the better it thrives. That's why they say the more the merrier. It's common logic if you think about the simplicities of things, right? So, I mean, this is just my professional and, you know, logistical and studies, you know, that I form these opinions off of, you know, that people really just need to chill and kind of think of how things are really about. How about New Orleans and Katrina? Yeah, those things happen, but I mean, what happens when that happens is A, it brings water in, B, it helps to take out the foundations that are weak, because the strong foundations are going to stay, the weak foundations are going to go away. Then what? They rebuild, remodel, and make new things. That's a safe way. That would be population control. Only that's not population control, because they literally tell you, hey, there's a hurricane coming that way. You might want to move. You know, you could lose some houses and shit like that. So they let you know ahead of time. You know, it'd be beneficial to move. So they, you know, let people move. If they wanted us to die, there would be no news. There would be no news. They wouldn't care if there was a tornado coming. Why? They wouldn't care if there was a hurricane. They wouldn't let nobody know. You get what I'm saying? And sometimes they do that to push people into different regions. Okay? Like, okay, with a lot of things that are happening in like Katrina and stuff like that, New Orleans and stuff like that, like, it pushed a lot of people to move to other places. And it's the same for what's happening like all around the world. Different places are fleeing to other places. Like a lot of places, Mexico fleeing to Texas, Californians fleeing to Texas. A lot of places are fleeing to Texas or to California, or different places are being filled because of certain things that are happening that are pushing people together, because it helps population. It helps to build a more stable community. More people get to intermingle and interact. So, I mean, yeah, certain things are necessary to make things happen. Spell COVID backwards and look it up in the Bible. Okay. You know what I mean? So I think it's all profound. What's happening, and you know, I appreciate y'all for joining me on this rant. You know, I just wanted to have, you know, a time to really be able to think things out loud, and see if you guys had any input or like anything that y'all wanted to talk about or thought about. And thank you, Ron, because, you know, you've been commenting this whole time, kind of keeping things rocking, and I think that that's beautiful. But yeah, I am probably about to get off of here. I do appreciate you guys. Thank you too. Stay blessed, never stressed. Oh, by the way, if you guys want counseling sessions, readings, Reiki healings, visualizations, hypnosis, subconscious reprogramming, chakra tunings, anything like that, you guys hit me up. I'm always here and available to work. Most of my services are only $55 per session, and you guys can also ask me about my mentoring program. I would love to mentor some of you guys to help you guys to reach your business goals, your love goals, your financial goals, so on and so forth. But stay blessed, my jollies, and never stress, with much peace, much power, much love, much light, and of course, much joy. See you guys next time.